Felicitations, adventurers. Welcome to Over the Table. I'm Taylor Felicity, and I've scoured the internet, but mostly Reddit, for stories about TTRPGs for us to provide our unsolicited opinions, advice, and commentary. Today, I'm here with Sebastian and Shelby, and we're going to be talking about relationship drama with TTRPGs from kind of a bunch of different angles. So get ready for some drama. But before we get into that, I'm going to throw it over to my guests for them to introduce themselves. Hey, Sebastian, tell us about who you are, your kind of where you're coming from with some of your thoughts on TTRPG stuff.
Yeah, hello. I'm Sebastian Yue. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a writer, editor, and game designer in the tabletop space. I've been playing TTRPGs consistently for 7 years, and I've been a GM on and off for about 4 years. I love to try new games, and I've played 64 different systems so far, and I spend way too much time on Reddit scrolling RPG horror stories, and I get really invested in drama that I am not involved in. In my opinion, that's the best kind of drama, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. RPG Horror Story is definitely my favorite subreddit as well. And who's to say? Maybe it'll make an appearance this stream. And Shelby, who are you? What are you? What's your vibes? What are you all about?
Hello, gentle viewers, or maybe not so gentle. My name is Shelby. You know me as a tabletop actual play performer for the past 2 or 3 years, appearing on various channels in various roles, ranging from surly catgirl dragoons to Sean Bean. That was an interesting one. I've been playing TTRPGs in various capacities for years, 25. And as for drama, my frame of reference is that I was recently divorced in November of last year. So
So you know all
I
about
learned to
this.
find humor where I can. Oh goodness, yes. So I am amped.
Yeah. So for people watching, including, oh, I have to say Dreamy canonically first in chat. Always have to acknowledge that. But for people watching, there is a pinned post in chat that talks about this. But there are some things that you can do in chat to participate. First of all, you can boo and cheer. So if enough people type cheer or yay in chat in a certain amount of time, it'll trigger a applause sound effect. So if like we say something that you're like, yeah, we agree, or if you're just like excited to be here, you can type cheer. If there is one of these Reddit stories where you're like, oh, this person is bad, we want to boo them, we want to boo what's going on, you can type boo in chat, and if enough people do that together, then it'll automatically trigger a sound effect. But also, if you have channel points or felicitations, you don't have to wait for anybody else. You can just boo or cheer all by yourself. So if you're motivated and you want to do that and you have channel points, you can do that. There is also, with channel points, a red flag redeem, which I'll do now so you can see what it looks like. And a little red flag will pop up and basically be like, hey, something's happening that's a red flag. If you are a subscriber, so if you pay, once a month to Twitch to support this channel, you can type I think, I always mess this up, but you should just be able to type, yeah, you should just be able to type exclamation point red flag in chat, and you get it for free as a thank you for being a subscriber. You can do that red flag alert whenever you want. And like I said, for this episode, we're talking about relationship drama at the TTRPG table. And I'm just going to get right into our first story without further ado. This one is, I didn't even remember that this was lined up this way, but this first one is from r/RPG horror stories, although it is kind of a more lighthearted one for people who have been on that subreddit before. The title of this post is DM puts a riddle only his girlfriend can solve. This was ages ago, still playing 3.5. The party was venturing forth well into a dungeon that was crucial for the main quest. During the session, after doing a lot of slash slash against many foes and overcoming difficult traps, we arrived at a door that didn't budge. The party succeeded in making an arcana check. The door was spellbound, and we needed to solve a riddle to open it. We couldn't find the riddle, as we discovered soon after that the door activated only when the druid, the GM's girlfriend, was nearby. We thought it was kind of logical since she was the only spellcaster of the group. As she approached to hear the riddle from the door, the riddle was, "What did I drink on our first date?" We all raised our eyebrows. She face-palmed, chuckled, and said, "Of course, whiskey." The door opened. She explained that whiskey was what he orders when he is with someone he really, really likes, and that this was his way to tell her that he was into her on their first date. As the door opened, we realized that this wasn't... Thank you for the red flag. As the door opened, we realized this wasn't an Easter egg, and no, we weren't playing a Valentine's one-shot for the DM's girlfriend. Behind that door, there was a room, and in it, an artifact that was of vital importance to defeat the BBEG later, i.e., what we were looking for in that dungeon. We all kind of chuckled and moved on, even if the thing was very immersion-breaking, to say the least.
Yeah, that was going to be my complaint mostly, that it was immersion breaking. I'm just like, I'm sorry, who owns this dungeon? Like, is this like your self-insert wizard? Because that's the only way it kind of makes sense. And even then, you're on really thin ice. Like,
yeah, yeah.
One might say you're on the rocks there, maybe.
Yeah, on the rocks, just like the whiskey that you love. Yeah, I think puzzles can sometimes be a little bit immersion breaking because sometimes you're like, if you think about it, why would a wizard put like any way that you could figure out how to get in to this secret room? But especially if they're like, you know, the real world. Have either of you ever been in games where you're like, this is why are you including this real world thing in the game?
One time my DM gave me a Wordle puzzle to solve, like, for our party, and it had nothing to do with the rest of the dungeon.
That's really funny. Shelby, what about you?
I haven't come across that particular situation. It just kind of makes me feel a little bit uncomfy when you try and bring in your exterior relationship into the game, because what if she couldn't remember?
Yeah.
What if she forgot?
What if she got it wrong? That's what I would worry.
That would be awkward as hell, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't really want to bring anything from your exterior relationship into it because, one, not everybody's in on it, and two, yeah, it could cause some serious problems if it backfires.
Yeah.
What are people in the comments saying in response to that one?
Yeah. So Dreamy said, "That's just cringe."
Yeah, agreed.
It is a little cringe. I also think she also mentioned, oh, I guess you may have meant the Reddit comments, but I'm going to say the people in chat. Dreamy Chat also said, "I'm not a drinker," so someone being like, "I gotta drink whiskey when I'm into something," or into someone, is just cringe. I do think that's kind of straight. Like, I don't exactly understand. Like, maybe she knew the DM already, so she already knew that about the whiskey thing, and he drinks whiskey when he likes someone, but that does seem like something on a first date you wouldn't necessarily, like, know. And then my husband is in chat, and he said, in quotes, like he was being like the girlfriend of the husband, saying, "Can you take out the trash?" as being like a as a solution to a riddle. Yeah, I think a lot of the Reddit comments were like, for RPG horror stories, this is pretty tame.
Yeah,
so most of the comments
worse.
most of the comments on Reddit were just like, "Oh, this is like kind of a bad move for the GM. It's like kind of frustrating, but not like, the worst thing that we've seen." A lot of people saying like it is kind of a favoritism because it is the girlfriend. So yeah, how do the two of you feel about like it kind of being like a little bit of a show of favoritism here?
I mean, this 100% is a show of favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really. Yeah, I also think it's kind of tacky, like, as people are saying in chat. Like, I mean, I also, like, I've been in the situation where, like, I've been in a relationship with the person running the game, and like we haven't actually experienced anything like that, just because like it's just not fun for the rest of the table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Go ahead,
It
Shelby,
kind of
sorry.
makes It kind of makes the rest of the party seem like a collective third wheel,
Yeah.
and that is really awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a difference between like sometimes at the table you'll have like a spotlight on a certain character. The GM will say like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I know this player has this spell, so I'll set up this thing so that they have the chance to use it to create like a cool moment."
Mhm.
Um and even that if you're like always doing that for your girlfriend, it's like, okay.
Mhm.
I GM a home game of D&D that my husband is one of the players in. Although one of the other players is my brother, like the other players are like really really close friends. So we're all like pretty close. But I am pretty cognizant of like trying to make sure that I'm not showing favoritism or seeming like I'm showing favoritism to my husband. But then the other end of it sometimes is like sometimes people are like way harsher on their partners at a table and it's like you don't want to go that direction either. Um
Mhm.
so yeah. Yeah, I think not the best riddle.
Probably
Yeah.
not, no.
Yeah, like that isn't even a cool spotlight moment either. It's more just like, oh, do you remember this unrelated thing? And I'm just like, well, but my character doesn't know what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
who are you speaking to? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
annoyed if like that was how the DM chose to spotlight my character.
Yeah, by saying, "Hey, do you remember this fact about me?" Your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um and actually speaking of couples having not good vibes at a table, this next post is just from r/RPG. And the title is "Do I address obvious negative vibes between married players?" I have two players
Oh.
in my group. This one is a predicament for the GM. I have two players in my group that are married in real life. Many times, when the players are just discussing things and they have differing opinions on how the party should proceed, they will throw shade at each other. It's obvious by their tone that they are bothered. Even what they say to each other is rude and undeserved at times. I don't know what goes on with their marriage. I feel it's none of my business to pry on that. But it happens almost every session now when their characters say anything with each other. It never erupts into full blown arguments, but it makes me feel uncomfortable when I try to use an NPC or something to move on. Should I confront this behavior or should I leave it alone? I can only suspect that the dynamic in how they talk with each other is bleeding into the game.
Ooh. Sorry, so this person is the GM.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, that's tricky, but I think that if it's bleeding, like if it's messing with the vibe at the table, you should probably address it. But like, I wouldn't come at it from an angle of, "Hey, I think you have relationship issues." Like, come at it from, I confine the complaints and like the observations to in-game interaction as much
Mhm.
as possible, like in character stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oof. I I've really got to say some people use D&D as therapy. This
Hmm.
is not the avenue for marriage therapy, obviously. Um, and
Yeah.
I know I'm making snide comments about a serious issue, but hey, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Salt.
That's the stream.
Um, so I agree. I wouldn't go about it with, hey, you guys got issues, but I would definitely say, hey, maybe you guys should step away for a moment. Like if it really comes to a head, I feel like there's something going on here. Maybe you should step away for a moment.
Hmm.
So that way the other players don't have to get enmeshed in it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Ugh.
Yeah, I also think it depends on if the GM has received any complaints from the other players at the table.
Hmm.
I mean, not to say that the GM's feelings aren't important because the GM is a player too, and like the experience
Mhm.
should be pleasant and fun for them also. But
Hmm.
I think that if I were a GM, I would also like factor that into whether or not I decided to make a big thing about it.
Yeah, I didn't write this down, but I did kind of scroll through the comments a little bit. And it's I if I'm remembering correctly, the GM for this story, somebody asked like, have any of the other players said anything about this? And the GM said that they talked to one other player about it, and that other player had also noticed it, but kind of was like, I don't think it's any of our business to like get into with them. So definitely at least one other person at the table
Mhm.
has noticed this, and yeah,
Yeah, oh, that's so awkward.
it's really
Mhm.
awkward. Yeah, do either of you have any experience with like being at a table where there was obviously a bad vibe? It doesn't have to be a married couple, but like two players that you're like they are not getting along.
Hmm. Well, um, this one, it's kind of an after the fact thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the most recent group I was in, fun fact, I actually quit both of my long-term gaming groups within the same month about a year
Dang.
ago because of interpersonal stuff that was just not sitting.
Yeah.
And in one of them, it felt like there was some clear animus between one of the other players and me. And I thought that they were my friend, like not my super tight, homie,
Yeah.
but they had gone to my wedding. Oh God, so many things wrong came out of that wedding.
Oh no.
But that's something else entirely. But no, there's there's kind of a dynamic where it felt like they were using an in character situation to express some animus that they didn't feel comfortable expressing either
Yeah.
away from the table. And they expressed their animus in a way that was triggering to me intensely. I pulled the X card. They got
Yeah.
angry.
Oof.
And oof. So so to kind of tie this back to the married couple,
Hmm.
it's never a good thing to let your interpersonal tension seep into your tabletop gaming experience. If
Hmm.
there's something that's going on, you need to actually be adult enough. Actually, I hesitate to say adult. Emotionally mature enough to step away and say, "Hey, I've got beef with you, and here's why."
Hmm.
You shouldn't
Yeah.
bring it you shouldn't bring it to the table because that's when you're getting other people involved with your beef, and it is really uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's also tough if you are the person. So I've never had this with like another person at the table towards me, but I have GM'd in games where
Mm.
people's characters, like the two characters were always in conflict. Um and I have had to like pull the players like aside on a message and say like, "Hey, I just want to check in and see how like is this in character conflict bleeding into real life conflict where like you two are having hard feelings towards each other? Do you have hard feelings towards each other and this is going into the game?" And it's never like blown up into anything. Like it's mostly just been like, oh yeah, like there's some character bleed and like, working through that and making sure that people are comfortable. But the thing that is rough about that is I feel like it's kind of a shitty move as a person to know that you have beef with someone else and to kind of push it through, oh, my character. Because then if this other person is constantly getting targeted and they come to you and say, like, hey, are we okay? And you go, oh, no, it's just the character. It's just the character. Like, that's shitty. Like, you can't work
Yeah.
through anything.
I also think, yeah, unfortunately, though, that requires a degree of self-awareness that I don't think that everybody has.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kind of has been the problem in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough because the other thing too is like the thing that I think makes this situation in the Reddit post so uncomfortable is because Sebastian, as you mentioned, like the GM is also a player. And yes, you're like you have extra responsibilities, but it is tough to have this expectation that you're the person at the table who has to manage everyone's emotions, or you're the person at the table who has to like resolve all interpersonal conflicts because you're like, okay, but I am also just here to play a game. Like I'm not a
Mhm.
therapist. I'm not like all this other stuff. So, yeah, this is a pickle. I would, yeah, I think the best thing you can really do is just pull those two players aside and say like, "Hey, I know you're married. I know like maybe this is more awkward for us than it is for you, but like the bickering is a lot." And like, can you
Yeah, I
ease
think I
up?
would probably message them separately or something, and then like
Mm,
not make it about them both. And then me for myself, I can compare their answers and be like, oh, okay, I see where there is a misunderstanding. And then if we need to, then we can do a little bit of mediation. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, I have also been in games, luckily not too many, where there's like a couple and you can tell that there's like a little bit of a spat between them and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, my goblin is gonna go over to the side and let them talk or whatever. Yeah, a rough situation. Okay, this next story is also from RPG Horror Stories. I will say the content note for this one for incest. Although, given that it's from RPG Horror Stories, it's not that gnarly that you'd expect from RPG Horror Stories.
We're
Uh
going there.
we're going there, guys, with the relationship drama. The title of the the title of the story is our DM decided to connect my PC and another PC's backstories by making them brothers from the same royal family that got secretly separated at birth. That's the title.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
First paragraph. Guess who commissioned ship artwork of the two characters making out a week before the big plot twist reveal?
Oh,
This
Yeah.
is a
okay.
Luke and Leia
I
situation
was
right
gonna
here.
say this is Luke and Leia,
Ooh.
yeah.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. So I think I this post is like not that old. But I think when I first read it, there was more to it, and then they edited it, so I can't find other things that I said before. But there is an edit to it because there's a lot of questions with this. Like, why would the GM do that
Yeah,
if your
and my
character?
concern seems to like so basically like did the GM not consult the players before doing this plot twist?
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So the
Mhm.
edit says for context. We had a no flirting rule in game, but out of game jokes and writing scenes happening off camera was totally allowed. So my friend and I decided to take the joke to the next level and commission some silly art about it. In the post, I made it sound like some kind of hot, softcore, not safe for work piece, but it was really just a doodle based on a meme. In conclusion, my friend and I were in on the joke. Our poor DM had no idea that we were joking about it until before the session, and we had to
Oh.
toss away the
Oh.
epilogue ideas we had for our characters. It was awkward at first, but now we joke about it all the time.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my
So
God.
actually, the GM who didn't know about. Okay,
Yeah.
this sounds like just a communication thing that just people are independently scheming their schemes and having
Yeah.
fun. That's very funny,
Uh-huh.
very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Gosh, I am very fortunate that that hasn't happened to me because I really enjoy doing romance in games, and like I'm in a similar position to like this person, in that
Mm-hmm.
like I have a friend who I write stories with because our characters were dating, but honestly, it's okay. They were different, like, yeah, they were like different species, so there was no way that they would be biologically related. So like that's good. But
Yeah.
God, yeah, I'd be actually really devastated if I was forced to like reconsider this whole epilogue because the DM
Yeah.
decided to throw in a plot twist. I don't know. At my table, we play with like a kind of retcon safety tool, and so like everyone, like if the outcome is really really bad and it makes you genuinely unhappy, you can be like, hey, I didn't feel good about that, is there a way that we could
Mm-hmm.
do it elsewise? And people don't tend to use it frequently, but it's just an option. So that would be what I would do if I was sitting at that table. I'd be like, wait, I had a whole idea in my head. We were supposed to be happily ever after. We were supposed to be making out sloppily off screen, like I had plans. Yeah.
That's really fun. Yeah. Just tell me, what are your thoughts?
So to carry on with the thought of wanting to have your characters making out sloppily off screen in your happily ever after, that is
Yeah.
a lovely turn of phrase. Thank you. Um, I would say that if you have your heart set on on a particular epilogue for your character, that you might want to communicate that with your GM,
Hmm.
and that the GM doesn't have to tell you what they have in mind, but they might be able to see, oh, there's a conflict in this case, incest. Um,
Yeah.
so there is a way to reach a compromise, and again, that is through communication. And so much, and I feel like communication is at the crux of so much relationship drama. You
Hmm.
have to be willing to communicate, but you have to be willing to listen. And in many cases, it requires a compromise.
Hmm. Yeah, for
So
sure.
in this case, they could have told the GM, "Hey, we want our characters to be able to fuck nasty afterward."
Yes.
Carrying on in the AO3 vein of things here
Yeah.
tonight. Tell that to your GM, and maybe the GM could be like, "Oh, okay, so maybe this character is a member of the royal family, and this person is turned out to be like from a family, long lost family, loyal too."
Yeah.
Or have them be like a guard that was like, there's a fix it fic in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, they ended it saying that everyone laughs about it now, so it doesn't sound like anyone was genuinely hurt by this, and
Yeah,
I think that I personally would be more upset in their position than it sounds like they currently are, which is good
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had a situation, this is I guess not really a relationship drama, but related to the story. Have you ever had a situation where like you and a GM had to like work out like, you were on different pages as far as like their ideas for plot and like your ideas with your character? I know, Sebastian, you mentioned the like kind of retcon thing that you do. But yeah, have either
I'd
of you
love
had
I'd
something
love
like that?
I would love to hear more about that retcon tool. That sounds amazing, or at least very
Yeah,
useful.
I mean, we kind of consider it as like, imagine that if you're watching a movie, then, you get to pause, you get to rewind, you get to, you get to skip if there's a scene, where something is veiled, you can just be like, we'll do a fade to black.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of treat it in a kind of cinematic way. I think, I mean, a lot of people have come up with various different names for this tool, and I know it's implemented at various different ways at different tables, but it works really well for the groups that I've been in.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds similar to like script change, like that same
Yeah,
tool.
essentially, yeah. Yeah.
Which works for me. I feel like that like I can wrap my head around that because, like you said, it's very cinematic. And like I went to college for film, so like those kinds of tools, like that is kind of how I tend to narrate stories anyway. If I'm the GM, so someone being
Mhm.
like, "Hey, can we pause? Can we rewind?" That kind of thing,
Yeah.
like kind of
Can we
works
shift
in
the
my head.
focus? Can we move the camera? That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I really like it just because it doesn't disrupt the flow of play. It's more just, hey, I want to just change how we're doing things, but it's not like I'm going to hard X card this and then just stop and now suddenly I have to deal with it because I decided to X card the scene. Yeah,
yeah.
so that's my favorite thing about that tool is that it just doesn't stop play with no further instruction. I like that it's actionable.
Yeah, that's nice because sometimes safety tools, like I use safety tools for like all of my games, but sometimes implement them like in different ways because I think sometimes if they don't feel natural to use, then people don't use them. Or if it feels like you're like worried that it's going to be too disruptive or you're going to like ruin the game, especially for streamed games, like there's that extra layer
Mhm.
of like there's an audience. So then sometimes you're like, "Oh, I don't want like, for me sometimes I've been like, "Oh, I don't want to seem like a bitch, so I don't want to like, like
Yeah.
say this
It's
thing."
just, yeah, it's awkward to be the one person at the table who's like, hey, I'm not actually cool with this. And yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
I feel that from experience because when I threw up that huh over being
Yeah.
triggered, it really threw off everything, and I felt like shit. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it isn't worth being subjected to something uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I think for when I'm GMing, my goal is always, because of course I've had situations where someone will say, "Hey, this thing happened in the game and like I was uncomfortable. Can we talk about this?" And my goal is always with safety tools to not make the result of the safety tool usage feel so unpleasant that it is like a
Mhm.
detraction to ever using it again. Where it's like, yeah, that situation was handled, but it was so stressful for me to use that tool that I'm never
That
gonna
I
do
never
it
want to do it
again.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously sometimes there are situations that it just is stressful. There's nothing you can do about it. But it's nice when there's a tool that feels like everyone at the table is like, yeah, this doesn't feel like this huge, like momentous thing of stress. So
And I'm
that's
not
nice.
gonna lie, that moment has me feeling a little bit gun shy even now, like a year
Yeah.
later, because it ended really badly. I stood
Yeah.
up for myself. I reinforced that boundary,
Yeah.
but the fallout from it was so bad that I now feel really kind of, uh,
Yeah.
do I really ever want to be that vulnerable again? What am I
Right.
willing to put
Yeah.
up with?
Yeah, I'm sorry you had that experience, and I hope that you can find a different table who will be respectful of those boundaries that you set.
I'm trying, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
um,
tough.
I can say that in the other group that I left, we had started out playing Curse of Strahd, everyone's, hot vampire daddy, dream module.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bang me, baby. Um, and so I had kind of a flirt kind of thing going on with one of the other characters,
Hmm.
and it was really really sweet. But then it turned out that the other character was just using mine. And
Yeah.
that led to some in-character fallout. I was devastated both as a character and as a player.
Yeah.
And even though we wound up in some really intense combat, and I saved this character from dying in combat because that's what a good party does.
Hmm.
Even if you're pissed, and that's a relationship too. Even if
Yeah.
you're pissed in the moment, you still got each other's backs, right? Maybe I'm being a bit Pollyanna, but um in the we got into the castle, things progressed, we had the nice dinner, and long story short, my character wound up banging one of Strahd's wives. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great Strahd game.
Yes. And I was still so angry in character that it kind of disrupted the flow of things. The other character was like, "Wow." The other player was like, "Wow, I didn't expect this." It's like you kind of did emotional PvP, lady. What did you expect?
Yeah.
So, and then our main character went off, decided to fight Strahd himself.
Oh my gosh.
Basically, this thing kind of unraveled the entire
Yeah.
thing, and the DM was like, "Hmm." So
Well, I guess it makes for a good story to tell.
it does. It
Yeah.
does. But at the same
So,
time, communication, because if I would have known that that's what
Hmm.
she had in mind for our characters, I probably would have gone with it if I'd been aware.
Yeah.
yeah.
But the
I,
DM still had to kind of sweep up the pieces, and I feel so sorry for him.
Yeah.
It was like some hot lesbian drama at the table.
You need to switch to thirsty sword lesbians.
Yeah.
You were saying something, Sebastian?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're a much better person than I am because honestly, there were, like when I was just starting to play tabletop. I mean, I like very early on, I dropped another character into the sea because I was pissed off at her player. So I just want to say that you're saving another character's life even though you're pissed at them. That is a degree of maturity that I just did not have at the time. No, I dropped her into the sea
You know what
because I
though?
could.
Sometimes you just need to do that. Sometimes you need to live out, in this case, your literal salty bitch petty dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fine. We smoothed things over afterwards, but yeah, like it was not my finest moment, I've got to say.
That's so funny. Yeah, I read a lot
Wow.
of Monster Hearts, so there's a lot like Monster Hearts is like the messy game. So there's plenty of
Hmm.
times where players are like, their character like actually the last session of Monster Hearts, which was last Thursday, one of the player characters killed another one of the player characters. Yeah, which everyone was like on board.
I
Like
assume
we all
consensually in the sense that like my as a player I was on board with it.
Yeah, well, and also with Monster Hearts, dying is really in the player's hands. For people who haven't played Monster Hearts, when your character gets to 4 harm, which is when they die, um, players have a move called Skirt Death. So they can either choose to have their characters die if they're like ready to be done playing them, or they can become their darkest self, which is like kind of all the worst parts of that,
Mm.
like, archetype. Or they can like lose all their strings, which are their connection to other people, basically. And they can lose all their strings, but they still live and have no harm. So yeah, it was not the players were not mad at each other at all. This is something they've all been kind of knowing was coming, and the character, came back from death. But I think something with that related to the story of this DM having like this cool plot twist reveal. I think because I GM probably a little more than I play, but I do both a lot. And as a player, I do like surprises. I know like some players don't like to be surprised with stuff, especially in their backstory. I'm mostly okay with it. Um, and as a GM, a lot of times if I had something like this, if I was like, I know I want your two characters to be brothers, I would probably check in with the players and I would say, "Hey, I have this plot idea. Do you want to know what it is or do you want to be surprised?" And
Mm.
like ask questions of like and say like, "Oh, do you want more questions? Do you want more context? Do you want me to just spoil you?" And that method has worked pretty well for me because a lot of times like players will be pretty upfront and they'll say like, "Oh, especially like, my Monster Hearts game we've been playing for a couple years. We're all really good friends. There's like they have a lot of trust in me, which is very kind of them. So we know what the safety, like we know people's, things that are off limits or things that are allowed. And so a lot of times the players will be like, yeah, fuck me up. Like, I don't want to know what it is. But
Yeah.
sometimes people will say like, can you give me like a hint or like, is it related to this thing? And I think that's kind of a good way to go because then people know something's coming and they don't have to be like, okay, now I have to erase this entire epilogue because I was gonna have a romance with this character.
Except for
Yeah.
this poor DM, I don't think there's any way to tap dance around, sibling connection.
Yeah, yeah, those are
Like,
pretty
ooh,
incompatible.
surprise incest.
Yeah, that is what happened to this player.
Oh, this poor group. But again, I'm
I'm
happy they can
glad.
laugh about it.
Yeah, I'm glad that everyone was like, "Oh, this is just funny." I think probably because they mentioned something about like that the romance was almost a joke, kind of to them. That it was like a joke that kept getting heightened. So, uh,
I mean, that's often how it starts, to be honest. I mean, like the romance that I have with my
Oh,
friend was also a joke. It was supposed to be a meme, like yeah, but it
yeah.
actually happened. So
I also had a rom. I ended up having to drop out of the game, but I did kind of have an implied romance. I one of my friends was running just a home game of a Crown of Candy like prequel kind of game, and so I played a melon named Canard, and we had a joke. Like I joked something with like this other character that I was like kind of my character was kind of just flirtatious in general because he was an eloquence bard, and so he was like a spy master, so he was very like,
Mm.
oh yes, and like kind of flirty with everyone. But we did the like we went to like this place to stay, and I joked that there was only one bed, and the GM was like, yeah, actually there is only one bed. So that
Incredible.
turned into a whole thing where I
Wonderful.
was like,
It is
I wasn't
such a
planning on
good
this.
trope. Obsessed. I love There's
Yeah,
Only One Bed. It's so good.
yeah, that's great. Okay, I guess I can move on to our next story. This is from r/RPG. This is not, this is kind of along the same lines of an earlier one. The title for this is "How do you handle removing a player's partner from your games?"
Oh.
Spicy.
Ooh.
The text is, I mostly GM, and sometimes I play with new people, friends of friends, looking for games, etc. If there's a problem player, it's easy to point out the problematic behavior and tell them why it's unacceptable at your table. If the whole group doesn't have good chemistry, that's also easy to reach an endpoint after a few sessions and let it die. However, and this is weirdly the second time it's happened to me, a player brings their significant other to play, and their playstyle and approach just doesn't work with the rest of the table and with me as a GM. How can I politely point out that I don't think the partner should be a part of the game?
Mm, like I get that it's awkward, but I think that maybe that like saying exactly that, like, hey, this playstyle isn't suited to the group that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. You see, they just had to throw politely in there because I can be tactful, but lately I just don't have the energy for it. So the options in my mind, before I heard politely, were either delicately or with a shovel. Um,
Yeah. Throw them into the sea.
but yes, that's not quite defenestration, but forceful resalination, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's really no way to there's I agree with the direct. And Sebastian, in this case, you are much more polite than I would be. Um, I am more polite as a player. You are more polite as a person.
No, I'm not that polite. I'm just diplomatic.
Yeah. Um, because this I in retrospect, there have been people who have kind of said this about my ex.
Mm.
And when when she and I were in game groups together, and I kind of wish people would have just been direct. You need to just rip the band-aid off and say, yeah, you're not a good fit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The
Yeah.
comments, so one of the people on this post asked, "This isn't helpful, but I'm nosy. What is the clash of styles?" And the OP
oh,
said, "A sort of war game optimization mindset in a powered by the apocalypse game, trying to get the
Oh,
absolute yeah, trying to
good
get the
luck.
hmm,
absolute best chances to get a full success and inviting violence and conflict as often as possible. The other players are all poetry and literature majors."
Okay.
oh, so you've got the 40K nerd in the theater group, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just I think fundamentally, I do have to wonder like how much the person who brought their partner into the game like told them about the game, because like I have had that happen before when like someone's been invited and they haven't been given like the full rundown as to what to expect from the game, and it's turned out to like not be a very good fit, or
Mm-hmm.
there's just been a fundamental misunderstanding or like a clash of different stories that people want to tell, and it hasn't necessarily been a malice thing. It's just been because like the vibe and
Yeah.
the intent of the game just hasn't been conveyed. So yeah, that kind of raises some questions because PBTA is just like you kind of don't get to optimize in PBTA. Like you play a playbook and you stick to it. Like you lean into the archetype. So
Mm-hmm.
that yeah, I also find it hard to believe that this like wargaming person is having a good time playing at that table either. So
Yeah.
there might be an angle there to say like, hey, this doesn't seem like the kind of game that you would have fun with. Would you, like if you were to leave this game, I wouldn't be offended because it would free up some time for you to have a better time elsewhere. Like that also might be an angle.
Yeah.
What I have to wonder is if they are staying in the game, even though it's not their, doesn't seem to be their cup of tea, are they doing this just to fuck with the rest of the group? And in that case, they definitely need to leave. Shovel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to tell because the GM doesn't really go into a lot
yeah,
of
Yeah, I
explanation of
think
like what the
yeah, with the details that we have, like,
yeah,
obviously I think my answer would change depending on whether or not this is malicious, but my default assumption is I'm always going to assume incompetence before I assume malice unless I genuinely believe that this person is out to get me, then that I'm like,
yeah.
nah, like it just yeah, just like the previous like 5 times that I've assumed malice has been incompetence. So like I'm inclined to just be like, nah, incompetence. So
yeah. I think one thing for me is I am probably in a minority of people of the world and I where I do not have any I have to say no to games. Like
I do
I
also,
I have to
unfortunately.
say like, oh, this game sounds really fun. I don't have time for this. Like I just have to.
Send them
And
my way, please.
yeah, I will the next time. I'll be like, I can't do this, but I know someone who can.
Yeah.
Um, so I think sometimes, Sebastian, like you said, is this player having that much fun because they're playing kind of a different game? And it's unfortunate. Hopefully, I would hope for the person writing this that they did go to this person and say, hey, you're kind of playing a different style game. And that the player was like, yeah, this isn't a good fit for me. But sometimes people are they're just like, oh, I just really want, even if I'm playing not the same game or even if it's like a clash, I still just want to play. And that can be a rough conversation because you don't want it's tough to say, hey, you
Yeah.
can't play. You can't play with us.
It also doesn't
You can't
sound like this
play with
person's. Go
us.
ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, no, go ahead. What are you saying?
No, it was a terrible Mean Girls impression. You lost nothing.
Oh, okay.
Please continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it doesn't sound like this person is necessarily doing anything wrong, and it's harder to kick someone from a table when they haven't actually like violated any of like the table principles. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of harder in a way to just be like, hey, like you're just not a good fit for this table. And if this player is going to be resistant to it, then you have to be like, hey, well, this time you did this time you did that, and it just doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. But yeah, like I'm with you. I really hope that this person like got a resolution and was able to remove that player amicably.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of I don't think I've ever had to ask someone to leave a
Yeah.
table. I have left tables
Oh, I
before where
have.
I've Oh, do you want to talk about it at all?
Yeah. Sure, yeah. I mean, but like both the times like where it's happened, it's been because like someone just has blatantly been like not adhering to the agreement that we did
Mm.
as a table. Once it was like once the player was misgendering, and another time the
Oof.
player was refusing to use safety tools, and so both instances we were just like, nah, like we're not really going to stand for this.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most pleasant experience to have to remove those players from the group, but honestly, the game was better for it, so I have no regrets.
Yeah, good for you. I have not had players who were doing either of those things, so I haven't had to I haven't had to remove people. I have left games where I've been like, oh, I've like taken myself out of situations where I was like, I'm not really having that much fun, or I don't think. A lot of times, I think I do. Especially, I don't really play very much D&D at all anymore. But there have been like D&D games, especially where I've been like, I have a totally different way of playing D&D than the rest of this table, and I just don't think this is for me.
Yeah, I mean, gay D&D is very different from straight D&D, and if it sounds like if that was the situation, then yeah, wholly understandable.
Yeah, yeah. There's always things like that where you're like, oh, okay. Or, sometimes like there's been games that I've played where the game sounded really fun, like the mechanics of the game sounded really fun, and then when I was playing, I was like, ugh, I'm
Nah,
not liking
not for
this.
me.
So, Yeah, but I've never had
Yeah.
to kick anybody out. I would have a hard time.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time with this situation. I would have a hard time kicking someone out.
Hmm.
If someone was being like an asshole, then I would be like, you gotta
Yeah.
go. But
I wonder if we can comment to be like, hey, can we get an update? Like, I want to know how this went. Like, I mean, how many years ago was this posted? I'm
let
curious.
me post it. I don't think most of these stories are not that old. Okay, this is only from 2 months ago.
Ooh, okay, that might be an
Ooh.
update by now. Like, I
So
want to
maybe
know.
let me
Oh, okay.
scroll. Let me look at this person's
I'm nosy. I'm so nosy.
Quick, somebody do up a burner account. We need to find out
yeah,
more.
Yeah.
contact these people. Um okay, looking at their posts history and comment history, it doesn't look like they're talking about it anywhere. Um so I don't know. I'll look. I'll look later and see if I can find anything. But it doesn't
Yeah, it's
look.
okay. I mean, we don't have to, yeah, we don't necessarily have to know. It's just, I was just curious because I'm just like, oh, I want to know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
No, they haven't updated. Maybe they handled it diplomatically and said, I'm not going to post this online, maybe.
Yeah.
Good for them if that's the
Good for
case.
them if that's what they managed to
Yeah.
do.
This story
Uh-huh.
does remind me of a different story that I did on Over the Table a while ago, but it was a group of players. I think it was it was like the GM and then two of the players were siblings and their dad was one of the players and the dad's play style didn't mesh with anyone else and like when people would do role play scenes he would be like I'm going to go have a smoke. And so he would just leave.
Like his character or as a player, he
No,
went to have a smoke.
he is a
Oh,
player left to
okay.
have a smoke. And so the post was like trying to be like, how do I kick him out? Because he, even though he didn't have the same play style as them at all and like wasn't interested in roleplay, he only liked combat, he was like, no, I want to keep playing. So it was like, how do I kick out
Okay.
this person's dad? So
That's
kind of
awkward.
similar vibe to this. Okay. I think it's a little early for break, but also not amount of time that I can read another story. So let's go ahead and take our break. So we're gonna be gone for like 5 minutes. Oh, I almost went to the wrong break screen. There we go. I almost went to my Warrior Cats stream break screen, which would have been quite jarring. So yeah, we're gonna be gone for like 5 or so minutes. It's a good time to get a drink, get a snack, and then also I'll put this in chat again. Check out the links to see both of my guests' other places. Find them elsewhere on the internet. This is the perfect time to do it. So yeah, we'll see you all in like 5 minutes. Bye.
Bye.
Felicitations, everyone, and welcome to the second half of this episode of Over the Table. And this is all relationship drama stories. So we're going to get right back into it with another story of relationship drama at the TTRPG table. As a reminder, if you want to boo or cheer, you can type boos and cheers in chats. You can also, in chat, you can also use channel points to do it all on your own without needing other people to get on board with you. So keep that in mind as I read this next story. This story is just from r/am I the asshole. So it's not even a TTRPG subreddit. And a content warning for this one for infidelity. The title of this story is Am I the asshole for canceling my D&D game because there was an affair amongst 3 of my players? Hey all, I've been running a D&D game for 5 people for the last year and a half, but I pulled the plug this week because of something that came to light. I've been running the game for my best friend John, his wife Lisa, my other long-term friend Jesse, who is John and Lisa's housemate, and 2 others. The other night, John came to me in tears because he had caught Jesse and Lisa mid-act, and it had been occurring for a while now, even before John and Lisa got married. I've tried to support him, being there for him as he figures out what is next. Later that week, after John said we can't run D&D anymore, I agreed and pulled the plug, apologizing to the other 2 players, citing personal issues. John and Lisa have decided to push past this and work on them. Jesse is looking for another place. They all say they have reconciled and are moving forward. Now, Jesse is messaging me, calling me immature for canceling D&D over this, saying I shouldn't have taken the game away from them out of anger. At first, yes, I was angry, watching them hurt my best friend, and I'm sad to lose a great game with friends over this, but I don't know if I can run a game for people at the table with such contention. I'm being told that I've done the wrong thing and taking the game away from them because it was a chance for them to escape reality.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna say it's not quite everyone sucks here, but um, hmm, I'm trying to articulate on this.
I mean, well, I personally think the DM actually did nothing wrong. This is fine. Like if they do not
Yeah,
like if they're not enjoying running the game, then they don't have to run it. Like
yeah.
if the players want to work out something amongst themselves, they can. But like I actually think that you're not entitled to a game at any given time. Like, and I know that a lot of people don't really like to hear that, but like the truth is that you're just not entitled to play a game. And I think that if the DM kept running it, like it would have affected the game that they were playing, and it just wouldn't be
Mm.
fun. You don't want to be playing with someone who also does not want to be playing.
Yeah.
I also have to say, being a child of divorce and that there was infidelity going on in that, you don't ever really move on from it unless it was an open relationship that you agreed upon, in which case it's not infidelity.
Yeah.
If it's infidelity, you are rupturing a closed bond. And granted, my family is a whole other codependent sack of worms to begin with. But this would, I think, if he had kept going with the game, their reconciliation probably would have seeped into the game. And there would have been tensions in it that would have come into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you would have been bringing people into it who are not privy and really have no need to be involved with it. You're
Yeah.
exposing people to fallout, essentially.
Yeah. Because, yeah, the two other people in the game, it sounds like had no knowledge that this was happening, had nothing to do with it. So
Mhm.
I think of even if the three people involved in the triangle were like, moving on or like working through it, that is, I think it would be hard for the other two players at the table not to notice a definite vibe shift at a
Mhm.
certain point.
Yeah.
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 I'm saying that the three who were involved in this, they all suck. They need to go. Shovel.
Yeah.
Well then at that point you only have two players left. So actually, like, no,
Yeah.
again, like the DM is valid for canceling this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does Reddit agree with us about this?
Let me pull up I didn't pull
Yeah,
any
I mean, I want to see what the
comments.
flare at the end of at the end says. You know, not the
Yeah.
asshole. Hopefully,
Definitely not the asshole. This is also an older
good.
post. This is from 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Honestly, I'm still good. Not the asshole. You're great. Well done, DM, for doing the right
yeah.
Yeah.
thing.
And it sounds like he is the DM is saying that it ruined a friendship too. Well, no, you
Um,
really did it say
yeah.
that?
So still is friends with John, who is the person who
Who's the
was
person he was
cheated
running the game for?
on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
And then
not
the
with
other
Jesse and
two.
Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa and
Okay.
Jesse. Um,
It sounds like dude kind of dodged like bullet hell on that
The top
because
comment says it's pull so the because the OP said because it was a chance for them to escape reality. The top comment says then they shouldn't have shat where they ate in the first place. You put a lot of work
It's
into this
true.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put a lot of work in this game. You aren't being compensated for it. So if it's no longer fun for you, then you don't owe anyone a damn thing. Not the asshole.
yes,
And then
yes.
the OP responded and said, thank you, you are right, and you mirror a lot how I felt about it too. I'm not sure if this is going to be fun for me anymore. And like, if you're a GM and you're not, I mean, arguably, even if you're a paid GM, you should still be having some fun, but the
Mhm.
dynamics of that are a little bit different. But if you're a GM for your friends, you should be
Yeah.
having fun. Like, like it should be fun for you. It's a hobby. It's a game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that was,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead,
No,
Steph.
no, I was gonna say anything. I was just gonna say that, like, I mean, again, like, it should, yeah, like, it's a hobby, it's fun, like, and if it's not
Mhm.
fun for you, then it won't be fun for anybody else. So, like, literally just
Yes.
cancel the game, do anything else that is fun. Come back to it later if you really want to, but, like, honestly, again, DM did the right thing. I would
Yes.
do the same, honestly, because that is also always an option. Like, if you don't want to deal with the situation, you can drop the game and run, and I think that is
Yes.
also valid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Ah,
all of these conundrums, with the
You're
couple,
just like, you could just leave. That's okay.
for the
yes.
couple and kicking out the person's partner, that is always an option. The GM is just like, I'm not running this game anymore.
Just quit. Um,
Yeah.
but if the DM's not having fun, then they should pull the plug. Actually, that was one reason why the second group that I left kind of, because I had a conversation with the GM off to the side, who happened to be one of my friends. And I said, "Hey, dude, I'm kind of losing wood on this here." And he said, "I'm not going to lie, I'm not having a lot of fun either, and I haven't been for a while, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
be the person who ended this."
Yeah.
And that was the conversation where it's like, hey, the person running the game is a player too. If there is a
Yeah.
vibe that you don't like and it persists, if there is anything going on that is preventing you from having fun, you have a right to say something.
Yeah.
And and in this case it's your two stank ass friends. There's no better way to put it. I apologize. Stank ass friends. Well, then they aren't really your friends, and he absolutely did the right thing by saying, you know what, done. Not the asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jesse, who's the housemate, messaging and saying, "Oh, you're immature for canceling." It's like, okay,
Oh,
it's
I
a
think that
boo.
was
game.
very out of line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do about it? I mean, if you really want the game to keep going, and you and the people who you're involved with also want it to keep going, then I mean, there's nothing stopping you from becoming the DM here. Like that is a
Yeah.
perfectly legitimate way to solve that problem.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. It really
yeah.
it really is hard for me to have, like, when people are making a game not fun and then they also feel entitled to the GM continuing to run the game. It's like, you could take your same characters and run a game for yourself. I don't want to run a game for
Hmm.
you. And then it's oftentimes, oh, but that it's so much work to GM and I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before. And it's like,
Yeah, and then
okay.
it's like, have you just considered getting good? Just get good. Get good scrub. Like, just, you know?
Skill issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Just
my
get
gosh.
fucking good. Everybody was a first time GM at one point or
Uh-huh.
another, and you can just fucking get good. Especially if you're playing D&D. There is so many, like, I don't know, just like, I don't know, go watch Matt Colville's like running the game or whatever the fuck. Like, there is so many videos on like how to be a GM. You're fine. Like, you're
Yeah,
so
there's
fine.
so many resources for it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so funny. I'm imagining this is not the situation you were saying at all, but I've had so many conversations with people who are like, "Oh, I want to try GMing, but I'm kind of scared," and I'm just imagining me responding and just going, "Well, just get good."
Get good. Yeah.
But that is what it boils down to. Like, you have to try. Like, no one is amazing at GMing the very first time. Like, everyone makes mistakes, and that's really funny.
You have, well, to borrow a line from Jake the dog, you have to be willing to suck at something first.
Yeah, right. True.
Yeah. You have to suck so you can fuck later.
Sounds like this guy maybe already knows
Yeah,
about
maybe
that,
already
given
did that. Yeah.
the sucking and fucking. I think he's got a corner on. Yeah, that's a brutal story.
Oof.
Yeah.
But I think I agree. I think the GM did the right thing, and much better to just cancel the game and say, hey, there's personal stuff going on, than
Uh-huh.
to try to keep running
Yeah.
a
I
game
mean,
that you're not.
what's the popular axiom of, like no D&D is better than bad D&D? Like, and I actually do
Yeah,
find that to be correct. Like,
yeah. There's also the share zone meme where it's like you can just leave if
Yeah, hit
if
that
it
bricks.
sucks, hit the
Yeah.
bricks. Yeah, that's what.
I
Walk out.
actually wrote up a blog post about what I'm not what I'm willing to put up with in a group and what I'm not. And it actually
Yeah.
centered around that meme.
Yeah.
Hitting the bricks meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Just leave.
Just leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's honestly wild to me that this person, Jesse, I'm just hoping is a pseudonym, I guess, but being like, you should keep running the game for us. It's like, you gotta know there's gonna be consequences when you, like the
Yeah.
commenter said, when you sit where you eat. Um, okay, this next post is from r/DM Academy, which is a subreddit where
Ooh.
people get like DMing advice, basically. And the title for this one is "Am I a bad DM for not allowing couples in my campaign?" I've been DMing for maybe 5 years now, and I've had players' significant others join my campaigns and then break up, causing awkwardness when both players want to stay, or disrupting the narrative when no one wants to leave. My campaigns are usually very narrative driven, and that's what my players enjoy most, so it's a bit of a headache for all of us when a character disappears with all of their unanswered plot lines. Another small annoyance is the general biases that a couple will often have for each other, such as in game romance or special treatment over other players. One of my players broke up with their girlfriend 3 weeks after she joined the campaign, and 2 months later, they want to bring on another girlfriend. Am I a bad DM for starting a new rule against couples?
You wanna go?
Hmm,
Or are you thinking about it?
thinking. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a very judgmental person, so I'm gonna. It does not take me that long to think. Yeah, but again, no. Like the DM is completely valid here. Actually, like there are so many games, and if this person just does not want to deal with the hassle that keeps happen that they keep experiencing with couples, then I actually don't think they have to. Like I actually think it's fine for I actually think that like more GMs honestly should set their own boundaries, and even if it's something like that seems silly and it's not like actively triggering or whatever, it's just like this just would make it easier for me to run the game. I think that's fine. And like if these like there are plenty of places to find another game to play in, like
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's completely fine.
Yeah, kind of dovetailing off of that. When I've been habitually lurking on the r/looking for group
Mm-hmm.
because I am looking for group.
Yeah.
And I see all of these things, all of these like seemingly arbitrary things that people set as prerequisites. They state their boundaries in their posts. One of them said no people over 30. And as someone who just turned 40 in February, I'm like, but then I was like, you know what? That's their right.
Yeah.
Just because it annoys the fuck out of me, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's their game. So if this person wants to say no couples because they've had a set of bad experiences, maybe that's their version of no people over 30.
It does make me wonder that,
Yeah.
like, that GM, like, what happened to you? What did a 30-year-old do to you?
Well,
Or 31-year-old, I guess.
that goes into some like ageism and assumptions about ages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my point is just because it seems arbitrary doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like if somebody wants like an all femme table, and then you've got dudes who are like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
And that's another issue entirely too. But it's arbitrary, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. So I
Yeah.
agree completely.
Yeah, I think for me with this one, I think I think GMs can obviously say like this is what I want on my table,
Mhm.
the X, Y, and Z. I do think for this specific story, this GM is doing something that I think is like kind of funny, which it sounds like It sounds like it's one player in this certain instance that like has brought someone on and then like broke up and then wants to bring another person on.
And then wants to
So,
bring on someone else. Yeah, like I'm starting to wonder if the GM also just doesn't like this person's girlfriend, because that also is an option. But again, like I also think it's fine to not want to play with people who you don't like. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
better
yeah.
to know that before you start playing with them than to play with them and then be like, oh, wait, I actually hate you and this is a problem. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I think the thing that I think is funny is instead of being like, "Hey, dude, the last time you had your girlfriend and then she broke up and it messed things up. So how about you've only been dating this person for 3 weeks or
3 weeks?
something? Yeah. Um, yeah, maybe not even that long. I don't know. This new girlfriend being like, "Hey, why don't we
Why don't
pump
you
the
give it a
brakes on
bit?
this a little bit? Like, why don't we wait? You play a two-player game or something. You two,
Yeah, can I recommend Starcrossed? You guys would love that. Like,
yeah. So I think because I'm thinking like, which whatever, this isn't that big of a deal. But like, if I was in, or if I was going to join a group, and like my husband and I were looking for like a game to join together, which wouldn't really honestly happen. But we've been together for like 10 years, and I've been married for like 5. So if I was like talking to a GM and they were like, oh, you can join, but your husband can't in case you break up, I would be like, okay, I guess, I guess that's fine. It also seems a little arbitrary because that can
yeah,
really happen with anyone. But
I can also understand why you might take that personally, because it's like, well, what do you mean? Do you not trust in my relationship? It's like, well,
yeah,
what do you have something to say, buddy? Like, like I understand that perspective also. Like,
yeah, yeah. I
Something
think,
that this made me think of
yeah,
is maybe this player wants this friend group to meet his new partner, but there are other
yeah,
ways of doing that
mm,
right.
good
because
That's
point.
true.
there are already a lot of interesting interpersonal dynamics at play during a tabletop game, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to throw a person completely into that.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe take them out for cheese fries,
Do something else. Go bowling. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
or your
Yeah.
favorite appetizer of choice. Cheese fries was just what was on my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Cheese fries and D&D pretty same tier
so,
of fun.
but more snacking, less dice. You know,
Yeah. I
less
have
chances for surprise incest.
That's true. With cheese fries, not a lot of chances for that. I haven't had this happen. I have had the D&D game that I've been running. That's like we've been playing for like 6 years or something. But it's been like we've had a hiatus here and there. There was like a point of time where like everyone was moving and some people were moving out of state. So it was like, okay, let's take 6 months off. But in that game, it started off with I still am GMing, but me as the DM, my husband, my brother, my sister, and then 2 of my friends who are also siblings. So that was the original roster. My sister determined during that time of playing that she doesn't like D&D. I've talked about this on stream before, but like she would play for an hour and then she would literally wander off into the next room and take a nap for the rest of the game. So it was really not for her. So she left the game. Around the time that she left the game, one of the players was like, "Hey, my boyfriend is like interested in playing, and like, would it be since we're losing a player, can we add him?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So he played, I think, for 2 sessions. They're still together. They're married now, so it was not a breakup. But he also just was like, "I don't think D&D is for me." So he had like multiple things in a row where people's characters just kind of like disappeared. His character, like, I think basically it's almost he was only there for 2 sessions, so I think it was almost retconned that like he kind of didn't exist because he wasn't there for that long. So I think it is. I get being like, oh, the campaign is narrative driven, and someone leaves and they have all these unanswered plot lines. But sometimes I also think with a TTRPG, you can't be too precious about that stuff because life happens, Sometimes there just are
Mhm.
unanswered plot lines, or people leave, or, move, or just realize they don't like D&D.
Yeah, which is completely valid, and I think it's, again, it's better to to realize that before, and then, see yourself out politely and then not make it everybody else's problem if you're not having fun. Like I do think it is an important skill to recognize, like, hey, I am actually not having fun, and there's other things
Mhm.
I'd rather be doing with my time, and like that's good,
Yeah.
that's great. I would like to know about it if that is ever the case.
Yes, and I've talked about this on Over the Table before, but a lot of times someone will have a question that's like, "How do I leave a game that I'm not having fun?" And like the one answer is you can just say, "I'm not having fun." But if you don't want to, you can lie.
You can lie and say that, oh, life stuff has come up, I just don't have time for this, I have to take a step back, like I'm not going to be
Yeah.
able. Yeah, just you can lie. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anyone. You just leave. Hit
I
the
Just
have
leave.
bricks. Like,
I have to clean out my purses.
I can't play anymore. I have so many purses I have to clean out. Yeah. I think I actually I lost the I didn't copy the link to this one, so I can't double check. But in this post, I think a lot of the comments were like, "You can make that rule if you want to. It seems like maybe you should just talk to that player and say,
yeah, I also think that's a fair take, and maybe this. I also just think that like making the rule would make things easier for the DM. So like
yeah,
maybe there is a bit of conversation avoidance happening there, but just
Mhm.
on principle, I think that like it would be easier for this person to just go into putting together a game with that rule as opposed to implementing it like halfway through when this game
Mhm.
is already happening. So yeah,
yeah."
I see. Yeah, like I see where these commenters are coming from, but like on principle, I'm like, yeah, I mean the DM should get to make rules. So yeah.
What arbitrary rule would you set for a game that you're GMing, Sebastian?
I mean,
Or
I
seemingly arbitrary, I should say.
I mean, well, I actually don't know if this is an arbitrary rule because like my justification for it is everybody at the table has to play an adult. I will not
Mm,
entertain child characters.
Mhm.
All of my experiences with it have been extremely unpleasant and I just hate it. So, no. If you want to play a game where you play as children, that is not I'm not the right table. Like there's other
yeah.
games, there's other players. I don't want that shit. So, yeah.
Nice. I like that. Shelby, do you have anything where if you were making a looking for game listing that would be out of context?
Know your fucking character.
Yeah.
Don't spend 10 minutes holding up the table because you don't know your spell list.
Yeah.
You don't need to be an expert in your class, but at least have some idea of what your character and class would do.
Yeah.
You don't need to pull yourself out of the game and, ignore what other people are doing so you can be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But you don't need to spend 5 minutes, like, oh, well, I didn't prepare my spells. So, or I forgot what's on my spell list. So oh, and then 10 minutes later, Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
it's just a basic. Yeah.
It's like I'm growing moss here, dude. Come on.
Fair. Taylor, what's your rule? Do you have one?
Yeah, I was thinking I think my most out of pocket sounding rule, which this isn't even that bad, but I think if I was doing a listing, my rule would be you have to be okay with people playing without you. Um
Yes, my table has that rule too, 100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
because I think it was, oh, why can't I remember his name? Kieran Gillen, who wrote Die. I don't know if either of you
Yes.
have seen this, but he put together a like rule supplement for D&D. So it's it's very like tongue in cheek, but it's formatted the way that like D&D books, or at least 5e
Mhm.
is like formatted, so it like has that like page texture or whatever. And it's like rules for scheduling, and almost like the whole thing is just people have to be okay. Like the rule for scheduling is the default is that you play. Even if it's just one person in the DM, the default is that you play. And like this is the only way that games can continue. I'm not that extreme. I don't think I would have that much fun running a game for one person. I think I would struggle to know what to do with that in a campaign. But yeah.
Yeah, but I have seen that list actually. I mean, it's very good, honestly. Like
Yeah.
unironically, I think it's great. And like yeah, I mean, my table has a rule whereby if at least two people show up, then two people plus the DM, then the game runs.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if we really want to, then like like it's like the procedure is someone says, "Hey, I'm not available. are we open to playing any other night? And if nobody's available, then the game happens without them, and that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
we're willing to reschedule if it is possible, but if it's not, then like, I mean, if I'm away, I don't want to be the reason why the game doesn't happen. Like, that makes me feel bad.
Yeah. I feel
And I don't really,
similarly.
yeah, and I don't understand like how it is so important to someone to be there for every single session and be like, no, I don't want to miss literally anything. Also, especially with my table, when we record our home games just for notes and
Mm,
posterity, like you can listen to it, you can get caught up, like your character can just be doing, that there's narrative reasons for your character to just not be there or to just have scenes that don't involve them. That's okay. Because
yeah.
otherwise you just will not play. Like, I also, like, I mean, I have another friend who hasn't played D&D for months because they have a rule that everyone has to be present, and like they're, like something always comes up, like, if like, and so like if your friends aren't like committed to playing D&D as another thing, then you just will not
Mhm.
get to, you just will not get to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is why so many games fizzle out, is because this idea of like everyone has to be there. Now, like, I'm not as hardcore as the Kieran Gillen thing, which is like
Yeah.
you would just always play.
I would not run a game for one single player, but like I think it's okay to establish quorum, like a minimum number of
Yeah.
players that there needs to
Or
be.
even sometimes there's been times like with games where like right now with my D&D game we're at like the finale kind of. So we have a game scheduled for next week. If somebody said, "Hey, I actually can't make it," we probably would reschedule it because it's like, well, this is maybe the last session of a 6-year game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
or
gonna do the boss fight without you. That's
right.
yeah. Like, there are
or
exceptions, but
or like
also
a big plot point like for their character, and it's like that's really the only thing we can do. So there's some wiggle room, but yeah, that would probably be my unreasonable thing, is you
that's
have to be
very
okay.
reasonable in my opinion.
You have
Very
to be
reasonable.
okay with not being there. All right, let's do this next post. This is from r/D&D horror stories. So
Oh,
almost RPG horror stories, but it's specifically D&D. Content note for this one: it is very revolving around a divorce. And actually, do I even want to read the? I'm gonna read the title of this because the title of this is just it's just what happens. So the text of this says, "My wife and I are getting a divorce. I don't want a divorce. I desperately want to try and work things out, but it's just not up to me. I'm in a bad place right now. She can tell, so she encouraged me to continue going to D&D because she knows how much it means to me. I was reassured that we're all friends and that no one is taking sides. 3 days after she broke the news to me, her best friend shelved her old character that she'd been playing for years to introduce a new one. The character introduced himself, her first time role playing a male character, to the campaign by taunting my former wife's characters with the words, 'You used to have a husband.' For context, my former wife's character had a fiance who died in combat shortly before the campaign began.
oh
I
my god.
blinked. I turned to my former wife. In character, I asked when she'd had a husband. Fiance, husband, same thing, her friend said. I started to explain that they're related, but not the same thing. She said she just misspoke. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I left the room to cry in the hallway. I tried to be as quiet as I could, but I let some sobs escape. They continued to play without me until they needed me to roll for initiative. After the game, I told my former wife that I don't think I will be attending the next session. She said that's ridiculous. She said she talked to her friend after the game and that her friend and the DM had been planning that character for months. The timing was purely coincidental and she merely misspoke. I was a founding member of this campaign. I've played this character for years. So many hours, days spent. I don't think I can do it anymore. I feel like I'm losing my wife, my passion, everything."
Oh,
Okay.
that's sad. Oh.
I feel this one in my molecules because
Yeah.
there were so many hobbies. I knew my ex for 20 years before we got married. There were so many hobbies that we both shared, like MMOs that we loved to play together that just really, really, really hurt to play.
Hmm.
I'm figuring it out just in different ways. Now, I feel for this dude. At the same time, though, the timing is not coincidental. That is some shady bitch shit right there, and I do not approve being a shady bitch myself. Um, just no, that is not coincidental. And also, while I feel for the dude so much, what he is facing is sunk cost fallacy. yes, it hurts to walk away from this character that you've invested so much time and emotion, and you've in a sense grown with this character. We feel so much, we're so wrapped up in our characters, especially if we've been playing them for a while, they become part of us. And who's to say that they weren't a part of us to begin with? But at the same time, if it's going to hurt him more to stay, then he needs to leave. There are new characters to be made, new games to play, new stories to tell. He can leave. It will suck, but he can do this.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so bad for this poor dude. It
Uh-huh.
kind of sounds like he actually, in fact, was not ready to return to D&D.
Yeah.
I think that his ex-wife was trying to encourage him to do it in like good faith, but also like even if I okay, so like the wife's friend, right? I think that even if they had been planning it for months and it was coincidental, even if so, it wasn't tactful or sensitive. And I think that
Mm.
like yeah, there does seem something pointed about that. I actually don't think that I would look at a scenario and be like, well, I've been planning this character for months and months and months, and it's, sucks about your divorce, but I gotta do it to him. Like I don't think I would do that. I would like to think I wouldn't do that. But yeah, this poor guy. I do think that leaving the game is probably best for him, especially if he
Yeah.
hasn't really, like, he really hasn't made peace with this divorce, and I don't like whatever that looks like for him. I feel bad for him.
Like I left my free company in Final Fantasy 14 and actually moved servers so actually moved, I believe, data centers. So there would be no chance of me actually running into my ex again.
Yeah.
Oh God, that hurt because I was an officer in that free company. I had actually spent, it was so much invested in it. So kind of similar,
Hmm.
but this was not, oh God, I hurt so much with this guy because I have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so.
Not with that shady bitch.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's also so hard for me to imagine a scenario where I'm playing a game and a player gets up and is audibly crying in another. I know I just said people have to be okay with people playing without them. But not in this scenario. If I was playing with someone and they got up and were crying in the hallway, and I was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna,
And
yeah,
they just
we're just,
kept playing until he needed to roll initiative. Like, oh, that's sorry. Like, that was a very funny sentence, but also that's a terrible situation.
yeah."
Holy
And
shit.
even go like, I'm just imagining like how did that play out? Like the people in the other room are like,
Like, hey,
"Hey,
buddy, it's your
Brian,
turn. Like, hey,
we
it's your
need you to roll
turn.
initiative." Or if someone had to come out in the hallway and go, "Hey, I know you're
You're
crying,
going through
but
it, but like, hey, we're in
we
combat now, dude. You gotta come in. Like, you need to
Hey,
take one for
bruh.
the team.
Hey, bruh, what's your dex bonus?
Yeah.
we'll roll it for you." Yeah, I unfortunately I don't think these people are really his friends. Like, I
No.
don't know that you could be friends with someone and be like, "Yeah, they're crying in the other room, and we're just gonna keep playing." Like, it's one thing
Yeah.
if a person says, "Keep playing without me. I need a moment to collect myself," but it doesn't sound like anyone even checked on him, which is like that's kind of the bare minimum. Even if I like kind of hated
Yeah.
someone, I feel like if this was the scenario, I would be like, "We should check on him."
Yeah.
Or in the very least, there is a very low level of social awareness.
Yeah, that's true.
That's giving them more credit than they probably deserve because again, these are assholes on Reddit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I feel bad for this guy, and I really hope that he moves on with his life and does better and finds new friends and all that stuff.
Yeah, this was from a
That
year
sucks.
ago.
Okay, so maybe not. I wish him the best.
Yeah, it's from a year ago. He doesn't have any other. This is his only
Oh, is this like a
post.
throwaway account, maybe?
I
Because honestly, I understand why people do not want to put this sort of shit on their main. Like, I get it.
Yeah, it's a account like I could see this username being a throwaway. So yeah, maybe I don't know. No updates, But it's
Hmm.
been a year, so hopefully he's found another
Oh,
group
yeah, I hope so.
because this is
Yeah.
not his friends. Excuse me. Well, let's wrap up with just one last story. That's a short one, and it's
Ooh.
more of an upper. This one's nice.
That one was so sad. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I had to get one more that's on a high note. This is just from r/d&d, and the title is "My best friend's character is falling in love with mine, while I'm falling in love with my best friend." I play a paladin who is on a quest to find his loved one. My friend plays a bard trying to escape their past. Both
I've
of
read
these
this
are.
one.
Have you read this
No,
one?
I mean, there's a book in which that happens.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, like a novel.
um, both of
Sorry,
these are
continue.
yeah. Both of these are self-inserts. We act exactly like them, have similar stories, play as we would in real life. Around December, I realized I'm definitely falling in love with him. Then a few sessions later, he shyly tells me that his bard is falling in love with my paladin, who are both self-inserts. WTF? He's been my best friend for years. This campaign is almost a year old. I don't know what to say.
Go for it. Go for it, buddy. Go on, go for it. Go for it. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
an
rooting for
oblivious
them.
I'm an oblivious dyke, so I'm not the one to go on this one. That said, it's not trauma bonding, but I really have to wonder, are you falling in love with the person or are you falling in love with their character?
I
Yeah.
mean, but if it's a
Because
self-insert, then
Yeah, that's true. It says they both
hmm,
act and their characters are self-inserts, that they're both very similar to themselves.
I'm still, again, me being oblivious dyke here. I feel like that should be my NPC name.
Just
Oblivious dyke.
appropriate.
Um, maybe I'm not the best person to ask about this, but I have some doubts here. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you could ask, just, not in the context of the game.
Yes.
yeah, this is
Y-
definitely an out-of-character conversation,
Yes, out
above-table
of
conversation.
out of character conversation, maybe not even in your game setting. Find someplace else to talk and say,
Hmm.
"Hey bud, I'm picking up on some vibes."
Yeah.
But again, oblivious dyke, level 40.
An officer.
Yeah, I'm just like, just fucking go for it. That is always gonna be my like if you have a crush on someone, my advice is always gonna be like 100% of the time, just fucking go for it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and if you're good friends, you can like you can be adults about it, you can get over it. And if the answer is
Mhm.
no, then well, worst comes to worst, you just have like you continue to be best friends. That's fine. Like yeah,
I like that
assuming that people that
your
I
worst
mean
comes to worst is that you're still best friends afterwards.
yeah, I mean, okay, like, yeah, I that's what I think. Like, if you, I mean, like, because I mean, bards and paladins they have high charisma, so I'm assuming that these people are 20 charisma. I think they could do it. They're fine.
I love that. One of the comments for this I thought was so funny. I'm not going to read all of them, but I think one of the top comments on this post says, roll a d10, and it has like 10 options for like what this person should do. Kind
Oh,
of
that's
in
funny.
in game, kind of not in game. So I'll read a couple of them. 10. They said, go in for a kiss, eyes closed, lean forward, puckered lips, commit. Do it at the gaming table. So just while you're
Yes, incredible.
9 is have your character be recklessly protective in battle on behalf of theirs. When killed, the party finds a letter on them. It's your love letter to the other player. Number 6 is commission an art piece of the party that features your character and their character prominently in front, entangled with each other in a suggestive pose. When the other, which, and then the DM says you two are siblings.
Boom,
Hilarious.
siblings.
Yeah, boom, siblings, exactly. Um, when the other PC makes advances, say how you feel IRL. Like, we're such good friends, I don't want to ruin it. How do I tell if we'd work as a couple? Uh, Another one is your character begins flirting with every other NPC you meet. Every time you do, smile slyly at the other player and make them want you. And then
Incredible.
the other option
Do
is
every. I think they should do every single thing at this table all at once. I highly like. Unironically,
same
they should
scene.
do that. It's so funny. Yeah.
And then the last one that I'll read is find any excuse to make the player lean into describing why their PC is in love with yours. Push further and begin to ask about traits of yours that were never explicitly stated about your PC. Which is just so funny. And then the OP responds to this and says, Number 9 is crazy because my best friend already did that and told me he's giving it to my
Yeah.
paladin if he dies. Yeah, which number
Oh
9
God,
was
go
my
for
full love
it.
letter. Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I think these people are fine. So if the OP is responding again, did they say whether this has transpired? I need an update.
I did snoop pretty egregiously into this person's post history. I didn't find anything that said that they had actually said anything to their friend. This post is from 3 months ago, so it hasn't been that long.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
Maybe they're still waffling about it.
they might still be waffling about it. But I won't read this because even though, this is available online, people could find it. One of their posts is a poem that they wrote seemingly for this person, which, again, I won't read. That feels very private, but it's posted on Reddit. So they're still thinking about it. They're clearly still thinking
Okay.
about it.
Okay. Well, I really hope this goes the way that they want. Good for them. Yeah, fucking go for it. At
Yeah.
any given time, just go for it.
I think if you're good enough friends, like my husband and I met actually my husband and I met as coworkers and then started dating, which is risky. But it was a retail job. It was not like
Oh, not
whatever.
like
It
a high
was
stakes office politics situation.
yeah,
Okay.
it was he was like just out of college and I was like in also like in my early 20s. So but I think if you're good enough friends saying, "Hey, I think I might have feelings for you," doesn't always blow up in your face. Like you
Usually
can,
doesn't.
yeah, you can kind of, especially if you're, adults, and you can go like, "Okay, I really like you as a friend, but I don't feel the same way," the blah blah blah. But yeah,
Yeah, like honestly, you can also like have that conversation, try like start dating, figure out it doesn't work, and then go back to being friends. That is also 100%
hmm
doable.
yeah, I think so. I think if both
Have done
people
that
are
before. It's
chill.
fine.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think that can work. The other comment that I really liked is one of the commenters said, "Roll to see if you hit on them."
Yes. But I was like,
Which
yeah,
is
like this,
great.
take the initiative, honey. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I do. I feel like the vibes in this, I don't know. This could really go wrong. Like some of these like the things on the like D10, like if the person isn't into you, it could make an uncomfortable situation for that person. Like I'm just imagining being at a table and I'm not into this other person and then they're like, "I commissioned this art of our
Yeah,
characters."
but also if we're best friends, I would laugh. Yeah, I think it would
Yeah.
be fine. Like, yeah, if I
Yeah.
didn't know them
But
too well, different story. But like my bestie, and if we did that, I'd be like, oh, that's hilarious. That's great. I'm glad that you
yeah.
did that.
It says they've been best friends for years. So I think that
Yeah.
context is like you can, I don't know. If you've been best friends for years and you're getting this vibe, I think there's something there. I just think there might be something there.
Yeah, I
We're
think
rooting
so.
for you. We're rooting for you, OP.
Yeah,
Read your
honestly,
friend
go
the
for it.
poem.
Please.
Great. Well, that's all the stories that I have for today. So thank you both so much for coming on the
Thank you.
stream
This is so
and
fun.
chatting. Yeah, I'm glad you both had fun. I would love to have either of you back again for this or for other things.
Sounds
But
good.
before
Anytime.
we go, why don't you both let people know where they can find you, what other stuff you have going on, and we'll start with Sebastian.
Okay, yeah, I've been Sebastian Yue. I use they, them pronouns, and you can find my work all over the TTRPG space. You can find out more on my website, sebastianyue.ca, because despite my accent, I am from Canada. I'm based in Canada. My most recent project is a Spire scenario called The Model Minister, which is published in the first issue of an indie magazine called The Hearth Magazine. I highly recommend checking it out. If actual play is more your thing, you can find me as Keldrinith on Sword and Keys Fragments of Loss, as well as Tricks on Roads Uncharted. And if you do, in fact, want to read the stories that I mentioned that I write with my friend, you can find those on AO3, and my name on there is Sebastian Yue. These are erotic, so please mind the tags. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. I think that's
Wow.
the first time that a guest has been like, hey, read my AO3 post. So that's
Yeah, honestly, no,
amazing.
please do. It's there for people to read it. There's like 450,000 words in this series, and like honestly, it's really difficult to get people to read original fiction on there. So, because most people go there for fanfic, right? So
Yeah.
honestly, you are so welcome. You can just I don't care if we know each other in real life. I post about this all the time. We're so desperate for people to read our shit. Like, it's so good.
People in chat are saying I'm on, like Melanie just said, I'm on my way. So
Okay, please. Yeah,
incredible.
comment kudos. Would love that. Thanks.
And
Oh,
I do have I have a link in chat for both Sebastian and Shelby to various cards or like other links, so you can click on those links and find them elsewhere. Shelby, what about you? What else do you have going on? What do you want people to know about?
yes. Hello, gentle readers, and gentle viewers. I have been Shelby. I still am Shelby. I use she/they pronouns, and you may find me at the link in chat. You can also find me on Saturdays and Sundays on Twitch at twitch.tv/abyssal song, where you may or may not catch me doing silly voices and/or dramatic readings of the narration in Rogue Trader. Um, there also may or may not be jokes about anal leakage as a side effect of the warp. So, keep your Geller fields intact, y'all. Um, yeah. Please, I would love to appear on your actual plays, either one shots if you need somebody for a charity game for a good cause. Please let me know. I'd love to help. Um, or if you are doing an offline game and you need someone with my unique talents and outlook, you know where to find me. Thank you so much. And thank you, Taylor and Sebastian, for giving me a forum to be a salty gay / oblivious dyke on the internet and judge people. It has been wonderful.
We love to judge. It's so fun to judge. If you're watching and you are not familiar with me, or this is your first time watching this channel, I stream Mondays and Fridays, video game or video editing streams sometimes if I'm like, I actually have a lot of videos I need to edit. But then TTRPG wise, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, is episode 4 of Carmageddon, which is a post apocalyptic toon campaign that's like very weird and cartoony. I'm not the GM for that, I'm a player. I play a motorized scooter named Adley Moto who does stunts and is not smart. And
So
then
good.
what else? Oh, and then I think it's on the 24th. I have another installment of Incredibly Indie, which is my indie game showcase. We're going to be playing the game Spindle Wheel, so I'm very excited for that. It's a GM-less game that's kind of tarot-ish, and the players for that, I think we're going to have a very fun, mystical, weird time. So if you're watching, come for those two things. Next month, we'll have another episode of Over the Table, probably the middle of June. So if you liked this, come back for that. Otherwise, you can find me everywhere on social media at Roll for Felicity. So my monthly schedule is there, so you can check that out. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I also have a Warrior Cats podcast that's streamed. So that's the last Thursday of every month, or the last Purs Day, as I like to say. But yeah, that's everything. So thanks everybody in chat for watching. Thanks again, Shelby and Sebastian, for coming on and chatting with me. This was super
Anytime.
fun. And I think that's everything. So do you two want to say goodbye to chat and goodbye to the YouTube VOD?
Yeah. Bye, chat.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.